Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's live stream. This week is intern takeover with Kim and I. So we're going to be talking about what it's like to navigate a virtual internship and virtual work. So we can start out with introducing ourselves.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Kimberly. I'm currently a co-designer intern at the BayhaGroup. And just a little about what I do. I help with like live streaming, like the back end. And so it's pretty fun today because I get to be like on the stream and I'm excited about that. I also do like graphic design and do a little bit of everything. But yeah, I'm excited to be here to be talking about what it's like to have a virtual internship.
Yeah, I'm Marcella, and I do more work with the high school internship programs and working on project management with that. And I've been doing a little bit more grant work as well recently. So yeah, we do like very different things with Work Wonder, but both we have been virtual I've been virtual the whole time I've worked for Work Wonder. Have you been virtual the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we have a lot of experience with virtual work, but Kimberly, how has that been for you, like virtual learning overall?
Yeah, it's been I actually really like working virtually. Like I feel like at first when people ask you like, oh, like you work virtually, they don't really know like what to expect. And at first, when I started working with the Bay Group as well when it was virtual, I didn't know what to expect either. But it's actually I really like it, and especially with like the Bay Group, we do a lot of like icebreakers and just the culture in general, like within, is just really it just makes it really fun. So yeah, I personally really enjoy working virtually. But what about you, Marcella?
Yeah, I agree with that a lot because I think with the idea of virtual learning, there's kind of the idea of sitting in front of your computer all day can be really tiring, but I think there's ways that you can maximize your learning experience, which I guess we can even talk about that next. But, and like you mentioned, kind of the company culture, I think having that understanding that we're all kind of experiencing Zoom fatigue and that virtual learning is something kind of new to all of us since the pandemic started. So just like being understanding of each other with Zoom fatigue and technical difficulties, all of those kinds of things, I think make it into a good experience because there are a lot of benefits to it, like being able to roll out of bed and just
Yes.
like getting to be comfortable on Zoom. But yeah, at the same time, it is tiring to be on in front of your computer all day. So yeah, like what are some ways that you have managed virtual learning to make it better for you?
Yeah, of course. I know Zoom fatigue is something like really big, especially now since we were also like learning from home, and like me that I was also working from home. It was something that was became like a challenge for me, like learning how to keep being engaged. But I think it's definitely what you make out of it. And I know that we had already mentioned like at the Bay Group, like we do like icebreakers and stuff to kind of keep us engaged. And we also do mind breaks, which actually really helps, like giving yourself a break, and just like also like snacking during when you're like, it also keeps me like very just focused. But yeah, those are some of the things that I do to help with Zoom fatigue, but I know that there's a lot of other things that help different people. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's kind of ambitious or difficult to assume that you can just kind of keep working and not have to take breaks and take care of yourself. So I feel like it's important to just block out time to do those things. And you mentioned mind breaks, but in case people aren't aware, so we have our interns create our meeting agendas for us. So we take turns rotating to create meeting agendas. And I think just a few months ago, when even after we'd been having our regular meetings, we were all starting to feel a little bit of that sense of Zoom fatigue and of like needing a little bit of a break, just especially because, at least and for me personally, being in front of the camera for so long is really tiring, even if it's just having the ability to like turn your camera off for a minute and just kind of relax and not have to be always sitting up straight and all of that is really nice. So we've kind of built 5-minute mind breaks into our meeting agendas. And so whoever created the agenda for that week, maybe we'll find a 5-minute countdown video with some relaxing music, and then we can all kind of turn off our cameras. And I think it helps our meetings just be more efficient, anyways, in the end, because we're able to stay on task more and do those sorts of things. But like, in addition to the mind breaks, I think some other things that we've done as a group at Work Wonder is just also making time to do fun things on Zoom because I think it's kind of easy to just, okay, let's just get as much done as we can on Zoom and then get off the computer. But it's actually really nice when we do icebreakers. And I really like having conversations and like getting to know you all over Zoom because that just makes sitting in front of my computer not so boring. It's like an enjoyable experience too. Yeah.
Definitely, I agree. And I think that it's also really fun, like when you're also participating that way, like you're not just like sitting and like you feel like you're being talked to. I think that's what like makes it so at least easy for me to battle with Zoom fatigue because of that reason. Like, you know, just like being able to like participate and like talk, it actually really helps. And but yeah, that's some of the things that have helped. And it's also like not even like just like being like staring at the screen, it's also like sitting for so long that can be so challenging, so even just like taking a moment to like stretch and stuff is also really helpful. But yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are some of the ways that you physically can help yourself? Like, if you're feeling anxious or just sitting so long, like, what are some ways that you can like physically take care of yourself?
Yeah, I think another thing that has really helped is breathing. Like especially when I feel anxious, because I personally do like deal with anxiety. I think breathing and just really like focusing, and also I think that also like trying not to multitask will really help because I know that sometimes when we're on our computer it's difficult to not try to do something else. But I think just staying focused on like like Zoom and stuff will really help like battle that Zoom fatigue as well. But yeah, just taking a moment to like breathe and just like refocus. But yeah, what about you? What helps
Yeah.
you?
I totally love the idea of breathing, and I love that we've incorporated that into our meeting agendas as well because just kind of I mean, the physical act of breathing, yes, I'm glad you all relate. I think as a team, like, we all really feel like love the breathing exercises because it's just actually keeps you grounded, but then also it just might remind me to be present in the moment. Like, I often notice when I'm trying to multitask, like you were just saying, it's very easy to like, oh, I just want to get this done, but then I'll notice myself being very like physically tense, and then just to take a minute to kind of, oh, I just need to breathe for a second, or just even to just turn off my camera for a minute just to stretch or like just get moving a little bit is really nice. And then, I mean, there's always like drinking water and having snacks around, having caffeine around. Like, what kind of snacks, caffeine do you like to keep with you?
Yeah, I think that eating definitely helps to stay energized. For me, my favorite snacks, I really like enjoy Cheez-Its. I don't know if you guys have ever tried like those like little Nutella things with like the breadsticks. I think those are so good. I also really enjoy eating fruit, and for me, I drink a lot of water. What about you?
Those were excellent snack choices. I would fully agree. And I think the Cheez-It is honestly the perfect like work snack because I could just kind of eat them forever. But I think like having fruit is good too because it's easy to just kind of eat all day on Zoom because I'm just bored and ready to eat. But and then personally, I like to have caffeinated beverage by my side. That makes me more motivated to work. I feel like I'm in the work zone. I like to have iced coffee or a matcha. I'm working on my barista skills have really improved in this virtual work environment. So I will carry them with me for the rest of my life.
Yes, for me personally, I've never been much of a coffee person, but I do enjoy drinking like teas. I know that teas like personally really help me like when I'm feeling like really tense, like you said, or like anxious. I like drinking like hot teas, so that helps. But yeah, Alexis said definitely breathing exercises help me relax when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Definitely. I think we're all big fans of the breathing exercises.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about like kind of Zoom etiquette and things like that? Are there things that maybe bug you if other people do it on Zoom or things that you get worried about? Like for me personally, I always am like, oops, am I on mute? Or like, oops, is my camera on? Because sometimes Zoom will tell you, now you're muted. And I'm like, was I not muted before? But I think it's a glitch.
Yeah, personally, I feel like maybe just like being aware, like, oh my gosh, like is my camera muted, or like if your cam or is your mic muted, I mean, or like if your camera's on, just like be aware that like like other people like are on there as well. As for like pet peeves, I don't know. I can't think of any. What about you?
Yeah. Something that I like when people have more just I like when we have those kind of casual moments and where people just like get to know each other and make jokes on Zoom. I don't know if that's not exactly like etiquette, but I'll sometimes forget that even though it is a work environment, we can also still like have fun and get to know each other. So I really appreciate when people kind of bring that energy to the virtual work environment because it for me personally, I find that that just makes like being on Zoom so much more enjoyable. Yeah, I think like taking the time to get to know people and like be considerate when it's kind of an impersonal context is really important and nice. And yeah, because we haven't even all met each other, so it feels
Yeah,
like a little impersonal at times. So
yeah,
yeah,
I
it's nice to do
totally
that.
agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just like giving it like your full attention just really helps because it helps people know that you're actually like listening, and even like just as simple as like having your camera on, like actually like communicating instead of just like being spoken to. Like I think it actually like really helps. And yeah, it's a really big thing when it comes to like Zoom etiquette, and especially since you're like I know that summer interns are going to be working like virtually over the summer. It's going to be a new experience for them. I think that that so that they make the best out of it, it'll just be really good like if they just participate and try their best to stay engaged. And yeah, but yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, like you just mentioned communication too, which I think is a really good point because we're all in the same boat and just can be understanding of each other that sometimes it's, we shouldn't always have to have our camera on because sometimes we do need a break or sometimes we do need to like take care of ourselves for a little bit. But having that communication part of it and being able to communicate that with each other, I think is really important. And that makes it key for having the success to virtual working or virtual school. Yeah, like for you personally, have you found a difference between like virtual work and virtual school?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that when it came to virtually learning, I think that everybody, especially towards the end, everybody was just like so like over it. And that definitely felt less engaging. And like, I feel like when it came to school, I felt like the teachers were just like lecturing to us and nobody was really like paying attention. So yeah, it was definitely less like, it was the like social aspect of it. Like it wasn't as like sociable, but I think that when it comes to like virtual working and stuff, I think it's definitely better because especially with like the culture that we have built already with BayhaGroup, like we had already mentioned, I think it's just so cool being able to communicate and stuff. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I prefer virtual working to virtual school because like you said, I think the element of being feeling like you're being just lectured to a little bit is kind of hard. And I think with a lot of students in general, I think a lot of people are struggling with motivation and staying engaged and all that. And so being for me personally, like being in a big class with like 200 students and everyone's camera is off, I don't want to turn my camera on because then that just feels weird too and impersonal. So but I like that at work. It's a more like we have a more close environment and more communicative with each other. So I feel like we can I even if everyone's cameras off, I'm like, "Oh, I can turn mine on today," like when I'm feeling it. Or yeah, like it's just a more personal environment because I feel like that's kind of what you miss out on the most of the virtual part is just feeling like really disconnected from all the other people. But I like that we have that like at work I feel like we make a good effort to stay together. Yeah. And I also like it's nice that we're able to connect during meetings, but then we can also step away and do work on our own. It's like a nice balance of that too.
Yeah, I
Mm.
agree, especially with like the motivation aspect of it as well. Yeah, especially towards the end, I know that it was very difficult for like students to like stay motivated and even like just to hop on Zoom. I know that a lot of students were just kind of like over it. But yeah, especially like you said, I think that just the aspect of it being on Zoom just is kind of like what like sucks, like just feeling disconnected and not being able to like see everyone, talk to everyone like on a personal level. But yeah, and I think that's why I truly like love like working like I prefer it over like the virtual learning just because of that, like just how it's more communicative. And yeah, like you said, like it's totally okay to have your camera off sometimes. Sometimes we're just not feeling it, but just like communicating with each other is just like what I love because like we all know that we're there.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I also think there's some lessons from virtual learning, even if it's from a negative thing, it's like a positive lesson we could take from it, or even like for me personally, because I felt maybe not so connected to people in class, I think I was more like, oh, I want to do clubs and like these meet people in other ways that I maybe wouldn't have if I'm just seeing people in class all the time, for example. And I think even just remembering to do those things like breathing and stretching and stepping outside, things like that, I can still use once we go back to school and are in person, even though these are things I learned from being virtual, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you plan on being in person in the fall or what are your plans?
Yeah, we were told that I'll be attending UC Irvine in the fall, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, we were told that it's gonna be, I'm not sure if it's gonna be hybrid or like fully in person, but we will have some in-person classes, which I'm really looking forward to. I like forgot what it's like to be in a classroom, which is like so crazy,
Me
but
too.
I just look forward to that, especially just like being able to like see other people and like talk to other people. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. What about you?
Yeah, me too. I'm planning to be mostly in person in the fall. I don't think we have a sort of finalized plan, but yeah, I feel like these tips will be really helpful just in general because I feel like I could just sit in the library and do my work and not take a break to kind of go take care of myself, but I'll remember those things more. And I feel like I'll just have a much greater appreciation for everything that's in person because just like being able to actually go to class and like being more engaged in class and being able to see the other people in my class, I think will be that's just something I always took for granted because I never thought I wouldn't be able to do that. But now that we're virtual, I'm so excited to just see other humans again on a day-to-day basis. So
Totally agree. I think that, before when we would go to school, we didn't even like realize like how like you said, like we took it for granted, and now that we're like virtually learning, it's like, oh my gosh, like I want to go back to school. And I never thought I would be saying that, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, just it just makes such a difference, like actually going to school and like seeing humans, like you said, and just like feeling more connected. But yeah, totally agree. And I look forward to the fall.
yeah, and I'm curious to see how things will have changed too to like accommodate the virtual learning environment because I feel like there might be more of a shift to things being virtual kind of in general. So I'm just curious like what kinds of things will have changed on campus. But yeah, I'm excited and I'm excited to like bring these things that I've learned
Mhm.
about the work environment and about what I like and don't like about school and work and being able to apply that once we are in person again. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, I think that's covers everything the tips that we have for you about virtual work and learning. We're excited to just share with you what our experiences were like and how we plan to use those tips in the future. So we hope you enjoyed watching and feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. Here's my LinkedIn and Kim's LinkedIn. Yeah, anything else to add, Kim?
No, well, yeah, that just kind of wraps up what our experience with virtual learning and virtual working, and, just some of the tips that have helped us, like with like Zoom fatigue and stuff. And, we hope that they help you guys as well, like when it comes to like being on Zoom and stuff. But yeah, very excited to see, just like you said, very excited to see how different things are in the fall. I feel like, not being virtual for so long and then going back in person, like it's just like gonna be cool to see like how different things are. But yeah, either way, I'm
Definitely.
excited.
Yeah. I hope someone learn something useful from this. But yeah, otherwise, we'll see you all next week. So please tune in next Thursday to the live stream again at 3 p.m. Thank you, Belen. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.